Star Astrology. My cat started staring at me as soon as I started talking. Abigail here from Evening Star Astrology. I hope you guys are all doing well today. Thank you so much for being here. Thank you for coming to another video. Today I have your forecast for this week of September 21st through September 27th. Today I'm drinking my Egyptian licorice tea from the Yogi brand, so feel free to grab your own mug of tea and let's settle in and chat about the astrology of this week. So the astrology of this week kicks off on Tuesday, September 22nd, when the sun makes its annual ingress into the sign of Libra, marking the beginning of Libra season. Libra is our cardinal air sign and it is ruled by Venus. So Libra season brings a certain element of beauty and harmony and balance and energy directed towards socializing, social engagement, or generally sharing ideas and connecting in a social way with others. Libra is represented by the scale, so there's definitely an element of balance, of bringing things back into order during Libra season. So if you felt out of whack in one way or another, Libra season is your time to kind of even out the scales. And then since Libra is associated with Venus, there's a certain beauty and harmony and like kind of social graces that are associated with Libra that just make this generally a very pleasant time. It's a good time to socialize, a good time to kind of interact with other people. It's a good time to find beauty in your home or within yourself. Libra as a sign, not necessarily people with their sun in Libra or people who have different placements in Libra, but just generally Libra as an archetype tends to be a little bit indecisive because Libra loves to look at all sides of a situation and then they have trouble deciding from there. So during Libra season, you may find yourself weighing out the options, or you may feel indecisive or have regrets around certain choices that you have made or choices that you didn't make and didn't act on. So something to watch out this Libra season. More importantly though, with this year in particular, with this specific Libra season, is the sun in Libra will be making a square to all of our planets in Capricorn and eventually opposing Mars in Aries. So although there's this beautiful and kind of lighthearted side to Libra, it is kind of tainted by the fact that it is going to be making hard aspects with all of the challenging planets in the sky. That being said, most of those issues are going to kind of appear towards the end of Libra season. So for the first half of Libra season, that's the time to kind of enjoy and be lighthearted and social and fun. And then towards the end of the month, when the sun in Libra starts making hard aspects to all of the harsh, challenging planets, that's when you'll need to bring out the more justice-oriented side of Libra. And then the rest of this week is really Mercury heavy. Mercury basically takes center stage for the rest of this week. So on Wednesday, September 23rd, Mercury and Libra, at the very last degrees of Libra, will be making a square to Saturn in Capricorn. And this just generally indicates challenge with communications, feeling limited, feeling like you can't get your voice out, that the structures that surround you or your own ideals and values that you impose as limitations on yourself are preventing you from speaking your truth. There is definitely a harshness associated with communication this day and a desire to be concise in our language rather than just flowing on and letting yourself talk just to talk, if that makes sense. There's definitely an intentionality and precision in the words that we choose to say, who we choose to talk to, and where we choose to expend our intellectual energy. And then on Thursday the 24th, Mercury makes an opposition to Mars in Aries. And this day is basically the same as the day before, challenges with communication, but instead of being limited, it's more an aggressive type of communication. On Thursday the 24th, with that Mercury opposite Mars, it's not going to take that much aggravation to start a whole argument. So be careful in what you say because tensions will be running high and words may be misperceived and you may think that you are just asserting your opinion but someone else thinks that you are being rude or aggressive. So this is just a day to kind of be careful about what you say because there's a certain aggressive energy related to communication like waiting to boil under the surface. So on those 2 days, I would advise you maybe not to try and have that challenging conversation with whoever in your life or start an argument on Facebook. It's not going to get anywhere. You're just going to feel angry and upset with communication, and maybe taking a day off of social media might be a good idea. And then on Saturday the 26th, Mercury enters Scorpio. Mercury has zipped through the sign of Libra and is now in Scorpio. And while Mercury in Libra is very justice-oriented and interested in balancing and hearing all sides of an issue, Mercury in Scorpio makes a decision. It lays down the law and decides, this is right, this is wrong. And Mercury in Scorpio turns our thinking into being very black and white, of this is good, this is bad, this is right, this is wrong, I align with this, I don't align with this, etc. There's also a bit of a secretive nature associated with Scorpio, and so communication might become more private. Instead of just chatting with anyone and everyone who will listen to you, Mercury in Scorpio encourages us to look within, and Mercury in Scorpio also kind of brings emotions back into our communication. There's a certain emotional intelligence and expression that comes whenever Mercury is in a water sign. Mercury isn't the happiest in water signs just because emotions and logic are challenging to meld together at times. But when Mercury is in Scorpio, this is a time to kind of have emotional conversations, do internal work, do some reflection, and also dive into spiritual or kind of fringe topics if that feels appropriate or is something that you're into. So a quick recap of this week. On Tuesday the 22nd, the sun moves into Libra, marking the beginning of Libra season. On the 23rd, Mercury in Libra makes a square to Saturn in Capricorn. Tough day for communications, lots of feelings of being limited and confined and unable to truly express your ideas or thoughts or be heard. And then on Thursday the 24th, Mercury in Libra opposes Mars in Aries. There's an undertone of anger and aggression in our conversations. So being careful of who you're talking to, what words you're choosing, and making sure that if you want to start a fight, you're willing to actually stay and fight. So avoid Facebook on this day probably. And then finally, on the 26th, Mercury moves into Scorpio, indicating a new energy related to our communication, our learning, our thoughts, ideas, and travel, and anything else associated with Mercury. Definitely more secretive, more muted, and internal. All right, now that we've talked about the astrology of this week, I'm going to grab some oracle cards and we'll kind of chat about some advice and words of wisdom for the week ahead. Okay, the first card I pulled, or first one that jumped out, is release. And this week we're going through some changes astrologically. Anytime the sun enters a new sign, that's kind of a new area of our birth chart that's being illuminated. We're moving on from one era or phase or energy centering of our life to a different one. And with Mercury moving into a new sign and making hard aspects to the two malefic planets, there's some challenges and changes this week. I think those are kind of our key words for this week astrologically, challenges and changes. And with that comes releasing, not holding on to the idea of what was, or this could also be releasing your attachment to certain thoughts or ideals or beliefs. Whenever Mercury is involved, there's a certain association with like, I am my thoughts, I am my beliefs. And especially in today's political climate, people get so attached to, I'm a Republican, I believe this, or I am liberal and I believe this and this is wrong and I am my beliefs. And so this card is asking us to release. I'm not saying don't become apolitical because like that's incredibly privileged and like you live in a political society, you have to be political. But just generally releasing what is causing you any suffering, because suffering comes from attachment in an impermanent world. And if there's anything that you can release, go ahead and release it. If you have a stressful relationship in your life, or you keep following that person on social media, even though you know that like you don't feel good when you see their posts, release it. If you hold on to certain goals for yourself and you tell yourself, I'm going to do this every single day for the next month, and you find that it doesn't actually bring you joy, release that. Release worldviews that don't serve you. I think you guys are getting the point. Generally, being okay with releasing and shedding and being able to grow up from that. We have to release in order to let in new ideas, so don't become too attached to what is or what you currently have or what you're currently into or what you believe. Allow yourself to release as necessary. Let's grab another card. Okay, the next card that jumped out is When You Least Expect. And I think that this one is really interesting because it's in some ways very contrary to the first card we pulled, because I personally believe that like we should release what is not serving us, and I wish that there were better words to express that sentiment, because I think that the idea of release what's not serving you is so overused in like new age, specifically white spiritual like circles or communities. But at the same time, it does get back to the Buddhist idea that suffering comes from attachment, and when you release what doesn't actually help you, you're freeing yourself from that suffering. At the same time though, things happen when you least expect it. If you release something, something new may come to you, but at the same time, I don't want you to just release everything, like don't abandon your life entirely. And if you do believe in something, hold on to it. Don't release it just because it hasn't worked out yet. It will happen when you least expect it. Also, I think that this card reminds you just to stay open and curious and aware of the world, and don't become too set in your ideas of what is or what should be or what your life will look like or what it even does look like in this present moment. Again, like I said, this week is defined by challenges and changes astrologically. And when things change, things become like in flux, and there's an opportunity for new things to come in and old things to be released. And so when changes and challenges happen, that's when things that you least expect come into your life. So something new may be coming into your life this week, something you least expect at the moment that you least expect it. But I don't know, without sounding cheesy, trust in the timing of the universe and understand that things will come to you when they're meant to, even when it's least expected. I'm gonna grab one more card. All right, the last card that jumped out is you are always shifting. Again, this week, the astrology is defined by challenges and changes. And we are always changing and we are always shifting. Shifting comes when like literal changes happen, like very obvious physical, mental, or emotional changes. But on a more subtle level, sometimes those challenges, like Mercury making hard aspects to the two malefic planets, that offers us an opportunity to shift as well. Especially the square between Mercury and Saturn, because those two planets are coming at each other from a 90-degree angle. Unlike the opposition between Mercury and Mars, where they can kind of look eye to eye, even though they don't agree, they can see each other clearly. With Mercury and Saturn, they are coming at each other from a 90-degree angle. It is harsh and it's really hard to compromise. There's some friction there. And with this card with the mountains on it, I think about like tectonic plates shifting and kind of like that grinding friction that comes when there is conflict and tension and just general challenges in our life. And ultimately, we are always shifting. It's not inherently good, it's not inherently bad. We're just always shifting on a physical level, on an emotional level, mental, spiritual, etc. My final thought on this card, with the always shifting, again, I'm going back to attachment and how suffering comes from attachment, that when you attach yourself to very strong like names of who you are, for example, saying like, I am a yogi, I am an astrologer, I am a reader, I am a daughter, whatever it is, you are kind of putting yourself in a box and saying like, these are my personality traits and there's no opportunity for change. There might be some growth or shift within those specific boxes, but you're kind of limiting yourself and not fully understanding the true expression of who you are. So with this card, you are always shifting. Maybe this week, try and remove some of those labels. Question like, who am I beyond my profession, my interests, my friend groups, my like associations? Who am I as a person? And maybe dive into your shifting a little bit more in that way. Just a journaling suggestion for you all. So for this week, remember that you are always shifting. Change is not inherently good or bad, it just is. Things happen when you least expect it. Life happens to you when you least expected it. So just stay open and then ultimately release. Don't hold on to too much. Fight for what you believe in and release the rest. All right, everyone, thank you so much for watching today's video. Thank you for leaving a like. If you drank tea with me during this video, let me know down in the comments what kind of tea you're drinking. And I will see you guys next week. Bye.